Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Jennifer Gauthier and I help teachers understand the curriculum mapping process so that they can create quality, engaging teaching experiences for their students. So I'm an elementary ELA teacher in Montreal, Canada. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the four types of assessments you should be including in your planning. So when teachers think of planning assessments, usually a couple things happen. Either one, they immediately shut down. Like, hopefully you're still with me after I told you what this video is going to be about. So either teachers shut down, they often get overwhelmed and immediately confused because they feel like they don't understand what the types of assessments are and how to properly include them in their planning. They also shut down because they feel like immediately when they think of assessments, it's just overwhelmed, tons of grading, tons of marking, and it's just something that they don't want to do, just like oftentimes the students don't want to do the assessment. So today I hope to kind of ease some of the stress, share what the four types of assessments are, so that you feel more confident in planning assessments, because they can actually be quite fun if you are creative and have some fun with it when you're planning. Choosing assessments is one of the steps in the curriculum mapping process. So if you're interested in learning more, I have a free resource, which I'll put in the description of this video. It's called the Roadmap to Curriculum Mapping Success. I've been filming videos all day, so my brain is a little frazzled right now. So yes, if you're interested, click the link in the description of this video. It goes through literally the step-by-step process to curriculum map. So I'm going to discuss with you the four types of assessments. Oftentimes, teachers think the types of assessments are diagnostic, formative, and summative, but those actually aren't types of assessments. They're more the reason why you're assessing students. So you always need to keep in mind that there's a reason behind why you're doing an assessment. It shouldn't just be to gather marks for report cards. There should be a reason why you are assessing your students. So for example, diagnostics assessments are when it's usually at the beginning of a unit, and you're kind of gauging where students are at in their learning. So if you're teaching them something, you want to know if, one, they're already familiar with it. Maybe they even know what it is that you're teaching them. So there's no point in wasting everyone's time if everyone already knows what it is. If you're teaching them something that your students learned last year, of course, there's going to be students that might need to reteach it. And that's also why we do diagnostics. So it's to see which students already know it, because you will get some students that already know what you're teaching, and also the students that either have misconceptions about what it is you're going to be teaching, or if they just flat out don't know it. And those are the students you're going to want to be paying close attention to and spending more one-on-one time with. So that's a diagnostic assessment. The why we give a diagnostic assessment is to see where your students are at before you even teach them anything. One of my favorite diagnostic assessments to do at the beginning of the year is to do a free write. So I tell students they could write about anything they want. Oftentimes it turns out being a narrative. But it's a really good indication for me to see which students are including dialogue, which students are struggling with their spelling, which students might be struggling with organizing their ideas into paragraphs. So like a free write is a great example of a diagnostic assessment. You could also do a pre-test, like a quiz. You wouldn't sell it as a test to your students, but it would be more of like a questionnaire for students so you can see where they are. The second reason we assess students is a formative assessment, which is what you're doing throughout your teaching unit. So that's when it might just be an informal observation. You're just taking notes and observing what students are doing around the room. It could be a journal that students are keeping. That's something I do with my students, is that they keep a journal. And that's a great formative assessment to see, like, what is it they're actually retaining at the end of each lesson. And then the third reason we assess students at the end is a summative assessment. So that's to see, after I've done all this teaching, have my students actually grasped what I've taught them, and have they taken something out of this unit, and what is it that they've taken away. So those are the three types of assessments, not to get confused with the four rewind. Those are the 3 reasons we assess students. And I don't want that to get confused with the 4 types of assessment, which I'm going to get into now. So when you're thinking of why am I assessing students, you're thinking diagnostic, formative, or summative. But then you start deciding, well, how are students going to show this? And that's how we're going to get into right now, the 4 types of assessments. So the first type of assessment you could do is a recall. So that is when students are recalling the information they've learned and then showing it to you that they've learned it. So it's oftentimes a test or a quiz because they need to remember what it is they learned and then apply it to whatever it is you're giving them, oftentimes a quiz or a test. The second type of assessment is a product assessment. So that's when students are creating something with their actual hands. So like a 3D model, it could be a game they've created. It could be, what else could it be? Like a 3D model is something that comes to mind, but it could honestly be anything, like taking a cereal box and like making a book cover with it. So anything where they're using their hands and creating something to show you what they've learned, that is a product assessment. The third type of assessment is a demonstration. So this is where students are creating something, but it's something that they are presenting, like a skit. It could be a song they wrote that they're going to perform. It could be a dance. It could be a monologue. It could be a debate. It's something where they're performing something for you and for the rest of the class. The last type of assessment is a process assessment. So this is oftentimes combined with something like a product or a demonstration, but the process is way more focused on exactly what the title is. It's the process of them doing it. So let me give you an example. Let's say I give my students a book report and I tell them they have to read a book and then they need to create something that they're going to present to the class. So that's actually 3 things. So that's a product, they're creating something, then they're presenting it to the class, and then the process component would be at the end of that, I would have them write a reflection on what they did really well, what they would have liked to have improved on for next time, what they think their strengths and their weaknesses are in terms of creating a project like this. So that means I would be if this was a process assessment, I would be grading solely the journal or the reflection they would be writing at the end. If I was grading the product they were creating, then it would be a product assessment. If it was a demonstration assessment, I'd be evaluating how they presented it. Like, were they making eye contact with the audience? Now, you might be asking, well, is it possible for it to be multiple assessments? Yes, the example I just gave you, it could be a product, a demonstration, and a process assessment. But my rubric, let's say I was using a rubric to evaluate my students, the rubric would need to reflect all 3 things. So there'd need to be a criteria for the effort given in the product that they created. Then there would need to be a criteria for how they presented it. Like I said, did they make eye contact? Did they read from their script, or were they just speaking to the class? And then I would also need a criteria on how they reflected at the end. So that would be a process, demonstration, and product assessment. But if I wanted to just evaluate the reflection at the end, which I could do, then that would be a process assessment. I hope that makes sense. I'd love to know if you've used all 4 of these types of assessments before. Maybe you have one that you tend to use more than others. And that kind of leads into the question as well of like, should I be focusing on maybe 1 or 2? I say you should be differentiating your assessments throughout the year. So using all 4 as much as possible. I don't mean you have to use all 4 in every unit that you're teaching, but I would try and maybe use at least 1 in each unit that you're teaching. And usually there's about 6 units in a school year. So those are the 4 types of assessments. I'm very curious to know if you were familiar with all 4 all 4 types of assessments. Maybe you only knew about a couple of them. So comment at the bottom of this video. I'd love to hear from you. Were you surprised by maybe you weren't aware that there was such thing as a process assessment? Maybe you were in the understanding that diagnostic, formative, and summative were the only types of assessments, when actually they are the reasons we assess, they're not the types of assessments. So I would love to hear from you. Please comment below if this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, I will definitely be going into the comments afterwards and checking that out. So thank you all so much. Be sure to download the Roadmap to Curriculum Mapping Success, which again, I'll put the link in the description of this video. And I look forward to seeing you. I will be going live on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good night. Bye.